I think a lot of businesses don't realize that this is their most important asset. They might think, oh, it's our inventory. It's our incredibly ingenious IP, intellectual property that we have patented and protected. It's our crack team of scientists. That's our best asset. And these are all important things, but the most important asset that you can have for your business is a community of loyal customers and even loyal fans that look to you as a trusted advisor. They've built up a relationship with you over time, and they look to you for valuable information. And then, when it comes time to market and sell to them, that process is much easier, much smoother, and much more effective, and delivers a lot more value to them, to the market at the same time. So it's really a win-win when this is in place. So we want to share something with you called the Community Builder Blueprint. And we're actually going to start at the end. This is kind of a step-by-step process of building up this community and explains the reasoning behind why this community asset is so important. So let's actually start at the end of this process. And it all starts with, what is it that you want your market to do? What is you probably want to get them to act in some way. So Sterling, name a few ways that you and your businesses have wanted to get a market to act.
I would like them to buy something.
Yeah.
And actually, along with this, it's funny, this weekend, I was actually talking to a friend of mine here in San Diego. We went to dinner and we're talking about what he does. He's kind of an activist of sorts. He's written books. He's done all this stuff. He has a podcast, all these things for this community of people. And he was getting very frustrated because in all these years, it's really hard to get them to act. And so we talked a lot about this community builder blueprint because this was the missing piece. The influence to action, all the things we're going to talk about here. This is what, as we started talking about this, he's looking at me going, oh my God, like, how do I, what do I do? How do I do this? Because this is the important part of not only business, but, for somebody like him, which it's not just specifically a business, it's a completely other thing where he's just trying to get people to act. It still comes down to all these specific things. Like another thing I would say is relationship, right? Like build a relationship with somebody so that there's trust. Right? What else for you?
Well, buy is, obviously we're talking about business here. So buy is a key action. And you mentioned relationships. So that, that would be, in getting them to act, you want them to maybe comment on your blog. You want them to reply to you on Twitter. Those are all relationship type actions they might take. Or you might want them to rate or review you on Amazon or other product sites. There's all these actions that along the way you want your market to take. The key one probably being sales to buy, but all these other things as well. So the thing that gets them to act is, you mentioned the phrase influence to action, is the influence that you have with your market. I guess I don't want to say over your market. It's really more with your market, the influence that you have, so that when you have that call to action, whether it's in a sales piece, whether it's in a podcast, whether it's in a blog post, whether it's in an email message, when you have that call to action, they respond because you have that kind of influence that makes them go, yeah, you know what, I'm going to do this. And that influence, okay, so where does that influence come from? Well, it comes from that trust and relationship that you just mentioned. If you have the trust of your market, if they trust your opinion, trust that you would only offer them value, trust that you create valuable services and products, trust that you share information that is worth them taking the time to look at, trust, whatever the case may be. If that trust is in place, then the influence is intact, and marketing and sales become incredibly easier. Marketing is just a matter. Really, marketing is this building up of trust over time in this relationship building, which we're going to talk more about here. And sales then is simply asking your market who loves you to act, to do whatever it is that you want them to do. So influence comes from them trusting you. Trust comes from a relationship, building up a relationship, which is something that happens over time through interaction and engagement. So the best way that we know to build a relationship with somebody, if you think about any relationship that you have with family or friends, the thing that nurtures a relationship is, you interact with them over time. You get together for dinner, you talk to them on the phone, you have your family reunions. Now, we're not saying you got to go out to dinner with everybody in your market, but there's other simple ways, especially on the internet these days, that you can have that kind of engagement and interaction. So engagement, a great definition of engagement is repeated I mean, I guess I'm using the words to define itself. Interaction is repeated engagements, or engagement is repeated interactions. But so it's repeated interactions over time that strengthen the mental and emotional and even physical investment that they have in you and your brand and your information, your products. And those engagements happen through things like, think about what we do in Internet Business Master. We have the podcast that comes out every couple weeks, and you listen to that and you respond to it. We have the email newsletters that go out. There's Twitter, where we interact with many people that are listeners and Academy members and colleagues and people in the market. These engagements and interactions over time are what build up the relationship, leading to trust and hence that influence that you have to get them to act. Well, before you can engage with people, you can't just go out there and demand people's attention. You just can't go out there and say, hey, listen to my podcast. Hey, you have to read my blog right now. And of course, advertising sadly has been that way for a long, long time. And that's kind of been the habit of, let me just throw this commercial in the middle of you listening to, your favorite music on the radio. Let me just throw this commercial in the middle of you watching on TV. Now, granted, those media have maybe their place, but even more meaningful is the types of interactions we talked about earlier, and that happens through permission-based marketing or permission-based interaction with your market, meaning that they raise their hand and they say, yeah, you know what, I'm interested in seeing what you're all about. I found you through searching on Google. I found you on YouTube. I found you on iTunes. I found you wherever. My friend told me about you, and I went and checked it out, and I listened to something, or I read something, or I tried your free download, or whatever it is that you were offering. And it looks good. So you know what? I'm going to raise my hand and say, I'm interested in what you're all about. Let's, go ahead and send me your email newsletter. Go ahead and I'm going to subscribe to your podcast. I'm going to subscribe to your YouTube channel. I'm going to join your Facebook fan page. Whatever, these different interactions are that you have, they're permission-based. They're allowing the person to raise their hand and go, yeah, you know what? I'm in. And that is the beginning of the relationship. Now, of course, before you can get permission, they have to know about you. You have to get their attention. And attention in of itself is a very valuable, it's a currency these days. I mean, we are in an attention economy. Somebody lending you their attention is like them opening up their wallet and giving you, it's analogous to that. I mean, we all value our time like we value our money. We value our mental and emotional and physical energy that we have day in and day out. So that gets sliced up very carefully between all the different responsibilities and interests and things that we have to do and we want to do. Taking the kids to their soccer practice, and okay, now I've got my responsibilities at work, and okay, spend time with my wife or husband, and then okay, yeah, I like to sit down and check my email. Think about all the media that are vying for our attention. You've got your shows on your DVR, you've got your mobile phone with all the blips and bleeps and notifications coming to that, and text messages. You've got email, maybe you've got Twitter and Facebook. You've got all these, your iPod full of media.
Yeah, you've got your mandatory Internet Business Mastery podcast to listen to every other week.
That's right. And we know that it's like, the most important. So that's taking up a big slice of your attention, leaving, even less for, the Daily Show, which we know you listen to Internet Business Mastery before you watch the Daily Show. So this is just to give you the analogy of, your attention is a valuable thing, and your market's attention likewise is a valuable thing. So think of that as currency. And so this whole community builder blueprint, it starts with getting their attention and then getting their permission. They opt into the email newsletter. They subscribe to the podcast, whatever the case may be. And then you engage and interact with them over time. That builds up a relationship so that they trust you more. And once that trust is in place, you can influence them to action, whether that's to buy or whatever the case may be. So this is the process of attracting a community of loyal customers who look to you as a trusted advisor and who will buy again and act in whatever way again and again over time.
Well, and I think of now how a piece of advertisement comes to me now, and if it doesn't follow at least some of this, I'm really annoyed by it. Yeah. It's not even just a mild annoyance, like if you're watching TV and a commercial comes on right at the best part. It's even worse now because I'm like, hey, you don't have my permission. You don't get my valuable time without me choosing it. So it's even worse. Knowing this stuff makes it even harder to be around commercials in any way or something that's just jumping out in front of you. Boo! I want to, I've got your attention now. It's almost like, see this gun? You're looking at the gun. Oh my gosh. And it's like, okay, now that I've got your attention, I'm going to put the gun away. I want you to buy this toothpaste. You're like, what? I didn't even ask for your toothpaste and you scared me to death, you know? So it's a completely different model. And then once you get used to it, it's even worse trying to be around other, types of marketing and advertising.
So what do you do in those instances